Hi, this is Jeff Morgan, and today I'm going to talk about business and technology projects, why they fail so often, and how to improve your probability of success. I'm going to focus on projects in the county and municipal government sectors, but the basic approach and all the information that I'll discuss today is universal, and it applies to all types of projects and programs regardless of what industry you're in. We'll talk about common causes of project failures, and we'll discuss strategies for success. This video is especially for C&D level managers and executives, but other staff members involved in projects may find the information to be useful. Achieving success in business and technology projects is not accidental, it's a group effort, and if you pay attention to just a few basic principles, you'll vastly improve all your project outcomes. So why on earth should a busy executive like you even care about this subject? You've got people to handle this for you, right? Well, I'm going to tell you why. A failed project, no matter how big or small, is a direct reflection of your management skills. So if you stick with me for the next 20 minutes or so, I'm going to show you why projects fail and how you can actually succeed. Most business technology projects fail at the conceptual stage, and the project is already done for before you've even gotten to the starting gate. These projects fail because concept formation was incomplete or poorly done. You don't know what you're doing, why you're doing it, who should be involved, how it's going to get done, when it will be done, or how much it's going to cost in terms of both dollars and in human capital. Until you can answer all these questions in detail, the project shouldn't move out of the conceptual stage. Now, it's likely that your vision of the project will change as you learn more while you're working through the project, but that's no excuse for incomplete concept formation from the beginning. Your ideas will change as your understanding grows, but great concept formation at the beginning of a project is a critical key to success. Business projects that involve technology have a fantastically high failure rate, even if you're working with off-the-shelf software. According to the Project Management Institute, projects fail about 70% of the time. And by fail, they mean not only those outright brutal, complete, and utter disasters where the ship sinks with all hands on board, but also the projects that sort of kind of work, but not really, because they fail to meet expectations, goals, and objectives. But no one is really willing to put the project out of its misery, partly because of the sunk cost fallacy, but maybe more importantly because questions might have to be answered. Because if you do pull the plug on an expensive project, explanations will have to be made to someone above you and eventually to the governing board. I tend to think of these half-failed projects as zombie projects. They never really come to life completely, nor do they really die because no one will own up to a failure, and it often takes a change of management to put these projects out of their misery. Sometimes these zombie projects can live on and consume resources for years. Some examples of the types of projects I'm talking about might include ERPs, Enterprise Resource Planning Software, EHRs, electronic health records, property tax systems, electronic records management, business intelligence, zoning and code enforcement, utility billing maybe, parts and inventory, information security, you name it. These are all pretty standard projects in the county and municipal universe. There are also pretty standard projects that go incredibly wrong in that universe. Some other examples that might not be so apparent might include the acquisition of a phone system or even copiers and scanners, and even these simple projects can have poor outcomes if they're not handled correctly. And it doesn't matter which project you're going to do. The recipe for success is always the same, and it's dependent upon understanding a few basic principles. So you might look at the sorts of projects that I just mentioned and immediately identify them as tech projects, right? There's computers involved, there's servers, there's cloud services, there's data, there's software, there's hardware, so it must be a tech project, and you think you need the tech people involved, right? In each of the projects that I just mentioned, there are technical components to be sure, and they may require expert technical input. But the projects themselves, the essential nature of those projects is not technical. In a lot of cases, maybe in most cases, an executive or a manager will assign these sorts of projects to their IT staff. And they'll often delegate these tasks with no ongoing supervision and management and expect a good outcome. And if this is what happens in your organization, you've just vastly increased the probability that the project is either going to fail outright or it's going to deliver suboptimal results. So here's the first lesson. There's no such thing as a tech project. There are only business projects. Let me give you a perfect example. A while ago, I audited an enterprise project that had ostensibly failed. They were 5 years and $20 million into a software implementation with really poor results, and many functions were still not working. The client asked me to evaluate their software selection. They wanted to know if they got the wrong software. So to begin with, they were asking me the wrong question. The question should have been, what's our problem? Because software definitely was not the problem. They had actually done a fantastic job on analysis and due diligence during the discovery and procurement phase, and they had chosen exactly the right software. The software itself might be the problem in maybe 3 to 6% of projects, but in general, software isn't to blame, but it's often a convenient scapegoat. So what was the problem? Well, there were multiple problems, and we're going to take a look at those. But the first problem was that they treated the project as if it were a tech project. There's no such thing as a tech project. Once they selected the software, they assigned the project to IT staff for implementation. There's no such thing as a tech project. So it all started to go wrong and get off track when it was assigned to the IT staff for implementation. In this project, which was a complex EHR for a very large organization, nobody really understood the nature of the project. An EHR is actually a clinical project on the medical side, and it's a really complex billing and accounting project on the practice management side. It's not an IT project, but this organization had essentially delegated the entire project as well as really critical workflow decisions to an IT director. IT project managers and other IT personnel, none of whom had a deep understanding of clinical processes. In a complex project for a large organization, there may be thousands of decisions to be made based on your business operations and processes, workflow, regulatory compliance, and many other factors. It would be a rare case for IT staff members to have a comprehensive understanding of these issues, especially in a complex clinical system like an EHR. You don't want IT staff making these decisions. You want line of business professionals and subject matter experts guiding the project. These are the people who should lead the implementation of your project. Here's why. This is a very high-level flowchart for a behavioral health organization's clinical and billing processes. It's an outline. You'll notice that I started the workflow with a client, a consumer. This isn't the only way to do it, and in a typical project, you might have a lot more of these diagrams, maybe one for each process and sub-process in the chart, as you dig down deeper into the project. This is one way to do it that reflects the importance of the consumer in the organization's workflow and ultimately the software to be implemented. The medical industry has the concept of patient-centered care, so building software and information systems around how consumers interact with them makes a lot of sense. A while ago, a behavioral health director asked me to look at his zombie EHR project, and one of the first things he said to me was, "You're not going to show me a bunch of flowcharts, are you?" Well, he didn't flowchart or document anything before he jumped into his $250,000 project, and it was on the rocks. Ultimately, he moved on and left the broken system for his successor to fix. So, do you need flowcharts? Only if you want to be successful. You also need detailed procedural documents. You should have all these anyway. They're the hallmarks of well-managed operations. So here's principle number 2. Understand your business processes. And you need to understand them at a deep level, and you need to understand them as they exist now in the current state before you commit resources to creating a future state set of business processes in your new software. And since I'm speaking about current versus future state business processes, here's a statement I've heard in almost every project kickoff meeting. We want new software, but we want to do everything exactly the same as we do it now, just with new software. We don't want to change anything. When I hear this, I have to really keep my poker face on. If you want to do everything exactly the same, why bother with new software? Why bother at all? Why bother to spend the money and go through the trouble of an implementation? In the county and municipal space, enterprise and departmental software can have a life cycle of 15 to 20 years, but I've seen much older systems in place, and just in the last couple of years I helped a client replace an accounting system that had been functioning since the early 1980s. And if you have had the same software for 30 years or more, it means you've had the same dysfunctional business processes for that time as well. A system that old means your information and transaction processing is almost entirely manual. That's a great situation for CSEA members, but it's not so great for taxpayers. And the truth is, if you improve quality and streamline your business processes as part of your project, there's a real possibility for massive productivity increases with significantly less staff over time and by attrition. I've seen directors who have been able to cut staff by 30 to 50% by focusing on quality and process improvement with far better outcomes, and you don't have to do it with draconian staff cuts. In municipal government, the acquisition of new software may be the only chance you have to improve business processes, quality, and efficiency for a decade or more. So yes, you do want to change your business processes because you want to make them better for your organization and for your customers. Change management is always a struggle, but in local government, it's especially difficult. For instance, many departmental managers and directors may be elected rather than appointed, and it's sometimes difficult to get everyone on board to follow the same piper. In these cases, a top-down dictatorial management style isn't likely to work because creating buy-in at all levels of the organization is really important to the success of the project. So management style, business processes, and change management have to be part of your concept formation. So here's principle number 3. Management is everything. Top-down management usually doesn't work in these kinds of projects. A top-down concept is great, but then the concept has to be worked through from the bottom up and from the inside out with inputs from people who actually do the work, including subject matter experts, line of business professionals, and you should include minions in the process at the conceptual stage. And a lot of managers have a real problem with this approach, so management ends up being the cause of the project failure. So let's talk a little bit about management. According to W.E. Deming, 94% of problems in an organization are due to management, either the lack of it or through poor management and bad decisions. There's an overwhelming amount of hubris in the managerial class, and if you want to oversee projects that succeed, leave your ego at home. Big projects have a lot of moving parts, and you're not an expert in most of them. When I ask executives and senior managers for details about their operations, they often give me information that's incorrect. And that's okay, and it's rarely on purpose. I expect it and I correct for it with research and due diligence. No one expects the big cheese to know every detail of their business processes when they have hundreds or thousands of employees. Enterprise and other big projects require that you give up some control and know your limits. You might be the smartest girl or guy in the room, but when it comes to the minute details of your operations, let the people with more expertise guide you. Just make sure you know who those people are. And it's always okay to say, I don't know. There are all sorts of management problems in organizations, even in well-run ones. There's backstabbing, credit taking, and all sorts of antisocial behavior, unless you've really got control of your people. You'll have staff members who withhold information and present all sorts of passive-aggressive behavior. And the best thing you can do for your project and your organization is to actually manage your people and their behavior. I personally like to run projects with radical transparency, and I think that organizations that make plans, intentions, processes, and activities completely open are better operations because of it. Lack of transparency, cover-ups, secrecy, etc., these behaviors all make failure much more likely. Now you might be saying, Jeff, we can make this project a success by using a certified project manager that we already have on staff, or we'll go outside and contract a certified project manager, someone who studied this book and taken a test. Now, there's a lot of good information in this book, and there are certainly benefits to hiring experienced project managers and certified ones. However, in the 26 years that I've been doing civilian government projects, I have not personally seen much correlation between certified project managers and successful projects. In every 7 or 8 figure project fail I've analyzed, there were certified project managers. Now, I'm not denigrating certified project managers, nor am I denying their value, and I've seen plenty of successful projects where there were certified project managers running the project. But I've also seen really successful projects run by admin assistants with no project management credentials. And my point here is that it's not project management that makes or breaks the project. It's the organizational management in general. It's the sum of the whole culture of the organization and its management. Project managers are usually middle managers by definition, and they're often a reflection of the organizations and the management they work for. They're usually steeped in the culture of the organization, and if your organization and its management is essentially dysfunctional, the project manager will be as well. One of the other problems I've experienced with certified people in anything is that they can get so bogged down in the process that they lose sight of the goals, objectives, and outcome. If you don't have a clear concept of the essential nature of your project, if you don't understand your business processes, and if your management as a whole is dysfunctional, it doesn't matter how good your project manager is, the project can easily fail or turn into a zombie project. So, what are the consequences of failed projects? The most obvious one is financial loss in the case of projects where a total loss is declared. Litigation in these cases is frequent. Even a simple project for a small organization can run in the 5-figure range, and 6, 7, and 8-figure losses are not uncommon in larger organizations. In zombie projects, the losses can affect productivity, morale, and the bottom line for years. Unfortunately, part of the hubris of the managerial class is a belief that they can't get fired or that they can blame the failure on other people or circumstances. This just doesn't work anymore. And even in the public sector, I've seen C-level executives, directors, and managers taken out by failed projects. And I've seen other cases where they should have been fired. Don't count on mercy, because success or failure in a project is a direct test of your management skills. So let's take a look at 3 principles for successful projects that we've discussed so far. First, there's no such thing as a technology project. And once you understand this, and once you understand the true nature of your project, you'll be better able to work on concept formation and develop a comprehensive view of the project with clear and measurable goals, objectives, and criteria for success. You'll also understand how to build the right project team. Principle number 2, understand all your business processes at the micro and macro levels. With this understanding, you'll be able to get project buy-in, improve quality, productivity, and outcomes while keeping a handle on change management. And finally, principle number 3, management is everything. What kind of manager are you, and what kind of operation do you run? Are responsibility and accountability built into your organizational culture? Do you practice radical transparency? A successful project is a testament to your management skill. Thank you so much for watching, and please subscribe to my channel. And if you are subscribed, remember to click the bell so you'll get notified of any upcoming videos. Best of luck with your projects, and feel free to email me if you have any questions or want help with any aspect of your project. Thanks again, and take care till next time.